That's why we do preventive maintenance. All done. Rinse and spit, please.
Tuning in to an all new episode of the Bearded Biomed. I appreciate you being here on today's podcast episode. As you know, new season, new flavor, new setup. This is what we do. I have a very special guest with me today. I would imagine a lot of you folks listening probably know this individual because he's been doing it longer than me. But with that, we want to welcome Matthew Lau. Is it say that right, Lau?
Wow. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So before we get into the nitty gritty today, and having you on, we're gonna go through some of these new segments that I got for the show. But
Beautiful.
let the folks know, listening, watching, understand like where you come from, what's your background. Give us an insight into your world.
You bet. You bet. First off, Chase, thanks so much for having me. Very excited to be here. I'm Matt Lau. I've been at this for, I don't know, since 92, however many years that is. Math, I've heard of it. Anyway, been at this for a long while. I did 22 years as a biomed in the United States Air Force. 6 of those years, I was teaching for the Department of Defense, which was really, really awesome because I got to see basically how the Army lived, how the Navy lived, and of course, I knew how the Air Force lived. But that was really, really cool. From there, I went on to be what was called the functional manager for Air Force Space Command, which is now Space Command. Oversaw 7 different bases, manning, budgets, all that kind of stuff. After I retired from the military, I went to work for a company called Dental Fix. They sold, I guess, they used to sell dental equipment repair franchises. I very much polished what they had as a training program. Many, many improvements there. COVID hit, and they said, hey, we're not going to be doing the franchise thing anymore. We don't need to train. Plan B was I worked with a gentleman that I met in Afghanistan. He had our radiology contract for the country of Afghanistan, and he and I partnered up and created our own biomed company. We were doing government contracts, and things were going very well. And just difference of opinions on how we wanted to take the company, and basically decided instead of ruining our friendship, let's just part ways.
And I think our friendship will be stronger than ever after today.
And that's what we did. From there, I was doing technical support for Darby Dental and kind of poking at several different avenues of what I wanted to do in life. That's when I received a call from Uptime Health saying we're creating this actual program for dental equipment, which got me really, really excited because it doesn't exist right now. So we are creating that, and I'm really excited about it.
So you went from space to teeth.
Space to teeth, yes, sir. Yep.
And I assume somewhere in between there, you probably closed the gap.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
That's so funny. Last time I heard that, I laughed so hard I fell off my dinosaur.
So, we've talked a lot offline as well, and it's funny how much of our inner circles kind of,
Oh my gosh.
why we actually never linked up throughout that process. I went through the schoolhouse right before it transferred from Shepherd Air Force Base to where it is now in San Antonio. You actually know a lot of the people that I know, and that's why I tell people it's so critical that networking and getting a good impression and your reputation is everything in this field, because somebody knows you or knows somebody that knows you.
Correct. And a good name travels fast. A bad name travels twice as fast.
Exactly. So we're going to hit a lot of different things today. I definitely want to get into the dental aspect, which is part of the reason we wanted to bring you on, just because this is a lot of a unknown space to a lot of general biomeds. And this is a perfect opportunity to kind of lay out the foundation of what's available out there, what's coming, what can be expected, and just kind of shed a light on it. And as biomeds, we're constantly having to expand our expertise, our field of view of what we service. And this is no different. A dental device is a medical device, just like a imaging device is medical, a dialysis unit is medical, a exercise bike is medical.
Treadmill.
Yeah.
It can be medical.
Can be medical. A dental handpiece can be medical too.
Yes, sir.
All shapes and sizes. So let's start off first. Let's hit it hard here. One of my new segments is Bearded News. we're going to get into it because we got something we want to announce and make everybody that is listening, watching, pay attention to. So let's get into it. Bearded News.
I like do da cha-cha. Prime Minister of Sweden visited Washington today, and my tiny little nipples went to France.
That's what it said on the news. And the news never lies.
Holy shit, there's a lot of news.
So the big news for us is October 3rd through the 6th, we're having our Uptime Summit, and we're focusing this year truly on biomeds and basically saying, hey, come here, come look what we got here. Look what we're doing, and look at the money that can be made, and look at the impacts you can have. We're going to have multiple vendors there, keynote speakers there. The biggest thing I'm excited about is basically getting the local, we'll call it local biomed in wherever, area X, in touch with the dental guy in area X and making that connection and getting these guys working together. And we're also working very closely with the CBET College, and we're going to be doing CE credits there. So if you are a certified BMET, you can get your CE credits there as well. And it's going to be, again, the biggest thing I'm excited about is the networking side of things and showing biomeds that, hey, dental is, just like you said, Chase, dental is medical equipment. You have the skill set to go down this path. We can get you the training if you need it through manufacturers or through the CBET College. If you want to continue on and actually become a certified dental equipment repair technician, we're working on that program as well. So there's many avenues. I am just, when I get talking about it, I get kind of giddy, just because I am so excited about sharing, what I discovered. I started my dental company, and what year was that? I don't know. Call it 10 years ago, probably. And realize that, like, look, I have the skill set, I have the tools, the equipment. The best part about the dental world is, as you know, as a general biomed, I would tell people this all the time. We have to know everything from a simple thermometer to a CT scan. Anything that's in that facility, we have to know it. In the dental world, you're talking probably less than 50 pieces of equipment. The crazy part is for the most part, all that stuff works the exact same way. So once you wrap your head around the concepts of it, you go, wow, this is good money. It's clean work, and it's an underserviced industry. Doctors are begging for technicians, and that's what we want to provide. Obviously, we know biomed, we're hurting just as bad, but why not branch out? If you already own a company or you're in a senior leadership of a company, branch out. Start going after these dental jobs, because there's a lot of money to be made out there. And again, like I said, it's an underserved industry.
So there's a lot to unpack there. First thing, for anybody interested in the conference, I'll have the link in the description below so you can get more information on that. But first off, where's it going to be held?
I guess I should have said that, huh? It's going to be in Nashville, Tennessee.
And like I said, we're looking through October
3rd through the 6th.
3rd through the 6th. Okay.
Yes.
So with the CU credits, I would assume there's going to be training there. Like I said, we don't have, I'm sure you guys are still working on the lineup of what's actually available there. But how many classes and like maybe types of modalities would we possibly be looking at?
That's a good one. If I was to guess, we'll probably be offering 3 to 4 on those days. As far as the equipment types, I know this moment we've only heard definite from one vendor. This is what we're doing, and that's vacuum systems and water filtration.
Which calls on a lot.
What's that?
We actually get calls all the time for those systems. We're like, well, we don't have anybody trained in that. We don't know those. And this is when you think dental, those are the two most integral things you have to have.
Correct. Yes, you gotta get the air to the patient, and then you gotta get the spit and the yuck away from the patient. Oh yes, you're absolutely right, Chase. Those are the two biggest calls in the dental world, are for your compressed air and for your vacuum.
Now, you made a good point as well, as this is an opportunity to network. Typically at these conferences, how many How many attendees are you looking at? Like, what are you expecting network-wise to have biomeds out there?
Another really good question. We typically have roughly between 50 to 150, but those were just dental techs. This year, we're marketing it out to, I believe, 26,000 biomedical companies. Spots are going to fill up, or they are filling up very, very quickly. If I was to take a guess, I think we're going to anticipate somewhere between 200 to 300 biomed and dental techs there.
For a lot of you companies out there that are listening, or even your individual 1099 folks, this is an opportunity for you to pick up more services, maybe expand what your capabilities are, especially from a 1099 standpoint. I would imagine you guys connecting them with those OEM, those vendors, going through what Uptime Health has created, essentially going to foster so much growth potential out there. It's kind of exciting. I imagine this is part of the giddiness where you're.
Yes, because it's truly, for to use a Navy term, it's truly uncharted waters. It's just what we're creating and what we're doing it's never been done. Nobody's stepped back and said, these dental guys, what are they doing? Because in the dental world, one thing that amazed me is our vice president. She has this scenario. She goes, most of the guys who are dental technicians have had no training at all. They were possibly a janitor at one point in time, and company X needed help installing. And they said, well, grab Joey over there. You just need muscles. Just get him, have him help you. And Joey did the install, and next thing you know, he's, whatever, asking the right questions. And the guy he's working with says, well, Joey, let me show you how this works. And let me show you how this works. So he's never had formal education. So I sit here and go, well, wait a minute. What if the guy that was training him wasn't good? So now Joey's even worse than the guy who trained him. So we're working with CBEC College. Equipment manufacturers get as giddy as I do when we start talking with them, because they understand the industry. They understand that there's guys out there working on their equipment. They haven't trained them. They don't know who trained them, but they're out there working on the equipment. So getting parts can be a bit of a nightmare for the dental industry, which just seems silly, I know, but a lot of vendors will not sell parts to just anyone. Again, we're working very closely because of the program we're creating. We can say, company X, if one of our guys is ordering parts from you, it's because we trained him. We know he's good. And that's what the industry wants, is nobody wants their equipment to look bad, or to have the, for lack of a better word, mechanic come in and not be able to fix it. So, I mean, we're getting a lot of excitement from every angle with this.
Keep a lookout. There's going to be way more information hitting in the coming month, just because this is approaching very quickly. I'll have any information I currently have in the description below, but I'm excited about this conference. It's going to be a great time, great learning opportunity, great networking opportunity. So keep an eye out. Nashville, October, it's coming soon.
Buying beers for everybody.
Thing is, when I go to conferences, things tend to go off the rail a little bit. Some just tend to party hard.
Excited, and I feel relaxed, and I'm ready to party.
There's no doubt. There is no doubt about that one.
Before we get out of news, I just recently went to the Omaha Heartland Symposium a couple weeks ago, and I will tell you, the biomeds down in Nebraska know how to party. Made it quite clear that I am on dad time. I am in bed, asleep, hopefully by 9:30 at the latest 10 o'clock. First night, we don't get back to the hotel till like 2:30. It was painful because the following morning I had to be up at so I can give a keynote.
I was going to say, is that when you were a keynote?
It was a great time. As a biomed out there, if you don't have a local association near you, I encourage you to at least go check out one in your neighboring state or neighboring city, just because it is vastly important to network. And there's a lot of opportunities out there job-wise that you might not even know it's available. Plus, you usually get some free drinks thrown at you as well. So that's not so bad. But shout out to that group. Fantastic organization, and I look forward to coming to the future ones. So Matthew, that's Bearded News. We're going to get into another segment just because I have somebody here with a vast amount of space knowledge and dental knowledge. You might be able to just illuminate us on some things that you've gone through. I want to get into what I like to call career advice.
I learned a lesson. Never half-ass two things. Whole-ass one thing.
So the biggest thing I think anybody who's been around a while is going to say the same thing, is never stop learning. Never stop learning. We as biomeds, I think it's in our nature, most of us, where we want to know how everything works. And we take a lot of pride in being the expert at, our different areas of expertise. So yes, there's so many opportunities out there to learn skills. And I'm not just saying biomed skills. I'm saying, get with the guy that you see out in the garage working on his 68 Mustang. Go there and just see what that's all about. When the guy comes in to fix your refrigerator, poke your head around, be like, hey, can you explain what you're doing? Some guys will tell you to go kick rocks. Other guys, they get excited because you're showing a true interest in what they're doing. One of my favorite sayings, and I get excited when I say it, is I've learned something today. I've learned something today. And I try like heck to do that every day. I've learned something today. So yes, never, ever stop learning, and don't ever, ever sell yourself short. Too many guys are like, oh, I could never do that. I could never do that. Why? Explain to me why you couldn't do that. So don't ever sell yourself short. And when I speak at the college here in Florida, I always tell the students this: there is a million ways to make a million. Selling yourself short, you're never going to find out, because you're going to tell yourself, hey, this is me. I'm going to make $80,000 a year. That's good. I'm happy. No, don't ever sell yourself short, and don't ever settle. Constantly keep learning. And what you'll find out is you get better and you get better. And then one day you wake up and you realize all the stuff you've told yourself, oh, I could never do that. You're doing it. It's actually happening. So yeah, that's probably the biggest thing in my world is education. Absolutely.
Well, I tell the checks all the time that if you usually come across somebody that acts like they know everything, they typically don't know much.
Correct.
So the people that are usually hungry for knowledge, they tend to end up being the better technicians, because let's face it, every 10, 15 years, equipment washes over. You got new modalities. There's new technologies out there. You might be called upon to learn something, pick over a new specialty perhaps that somebody is leaving, or maybe they just want to give you more career opportunities. Education is, like you said, is one of the main pillars of our field, just because you can't do this field without learning something. It's impossible.
Correct.
And go figure, you learn something.
60% of the time, it works.
That's right. I can't think of a better career advice, honestly, than to continuously expand your horizons, whether it's through actual certification programs, going for a higher degree, getting manufacturer training, even left seat, right seat training. How valuable was that for us in the military to have somebody, your senior, to sit down with you, take some time out of their day, and walk you through how to do something, whether it's biomed or not. That's how the military runs, because how do you think you got all the biomeds, especially like myself, that was in a field unit, doing generator PMs, doing field sanitation, lawn care?
But what I do have are a very particular set of skills.
One thing I feel the military, whatever branch it is, although everybody knows the Air Force is the best one out there. But anyway, we do a really fabulous job at saying, hey, come here and let me show you what I'm doing. Basically, from the time we joined the military, we're taught to train our replacements. So you're absolutely right, Chase. The mentoring of the up and coming, critical, absolutely critical. Now, I was in the Army for a year. You know that, right? Did I tell you that?
Folks, they're putting chairs in space, Chair Force in space.
Chair Force in space. No, now it's its own branch. It's the Space Force. Peace.
So great career advice. Next segment is, I think this ties into announcing the conference, is the reason this is such a big deal is essentially the dental space is, for the most part, very unregulated. So this is an opportune time to get into regulations.
The code is more what you'd call guidelines than actual rules.
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal.
No more defiance. We just need your compliance.
So in the dental world, as you said, it is truly the Wild West. And this is something that multiple people are working on to actually create regulation. Because again, it's medical equipment. Yes, it's used in the dental world. It's still medical equipment. And I was amazed when I had my company how many times you would go into an office and you would see a light that's just, they're still using it, or a chair with oil leaking out of it, or whatever the case may be. And you'd ask the customer, doctor, when's the last time you had that looked at? Oh, it still works.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of folks that never went through formalized training. They're out supporting their Colgate 101 training. If the services and the training and everything's not facilitated, it's not provided to these individuals, then
yes,
we are making our own bed when it comes to what's being used to service our teeth.
And the way the dental industry currently works is you have your major players in the dental world, and they are sales companies who offer service. But service is, to them, it's not generating revenue. It costs them money. They don't like it. They don't want to do service. What they want to do is they want to sell Dr. Jones a chair. Dr. Jones uses the chair, keeps using the chair, keeps using the chair. The chair breaks. Doctor, that thing's antiquated. You need a new chair. We're shifting that and saying, doctor, I'm going to come in every 6 months, every year. I'm going to do what's called preventive maintenance on your chair. And it's going to make it last twice as long.
60% of the time, it works every time.
I had countless customers tell me, what? I've had that widget for 20 years and it's never broken. You know what? You can buy a brand new Mercedes-Benz and probably drive it for 5-6 years and never do maintenance at all. Don't change your oil. Don't worry about it. 5-6 years, what happens? It's going to blow up, plain and simple.
It's going to be expensive.
It's going to be really expensive, correct. But that's the way the current industry works, is sales. It's sales driven. It's not service driven. You know, that's the big thing we want to bring is, hey, look, doctor, again, let me look at this thing once a year, every 6 months, whatever the case may be. I'm going to come in, I'm going to go through it. I'm going to fix these minor little creaks and loose screws and whatnot, and it's not going to wear out. It's going to last you twice as long. Getting the industry to buy off on this is much more challenging than I truly expected that it would be. But we're getting it. We're getting there. It's getting better. It's getting better. It's getting better.
I think it's the thing that a lot of people are not used to change. And to be fair, this is something that needs to have change occur.
Correct.
My company, we actually have a few dental offices that we actually take care of. One of my main ones is actually for special needs children, and you know they specifically just tailor dental services for those needs. And I appreciate that they actually have us come in on an annual basis and check all their monitors, all their syringe pumps, their dental chairs, their lights, their autoclaves. Like, they understand. I remember you were telling me offline, like, what is actually the requirement when it comes to preventive maintenance or servicing at all of a dental device? Like, in America right now,
none.
There's no stipulation.
None. I was floored a few years back. Nitrous oxide system. The doctor, I can't remember what was wrong with it. And I asked him, I said, doctor, when's the last time you had this thing serviced? I've owned this thing at least 10 years. It's never gone down on me. 10 years. He's pushing nitrous. Goodness sakes.
You know what? You need to take the edge off.
It's getting better, but We are not there yet. We are not there yet.
Obviously, Uptime, Dental Fix, you guys are working to change that endeavor.
Right.
So in a world of things actually being regulated, moving from Wild West to some modicum of modernization, where do you foresee this? What's the change you want to have? And then what's the vision that you guys see going forward?
The simplest way to explain it is it's medical equipment. It has to be maintained. You got people's lives at stake. This is where I work very closely with the CBEC College on this. They're working alongside with Amy, and we're pushing to get these regulations in place. I got to believe the doctors aren't going to be happy about it at first, but it has to change. It has to change.
So what the accrediting body over dental? What are some relationship changes? Because I know you guys have been speaking with them and working to kind of change the narrative on that. But can you maybe provide some insight on what that relationship's looking like, or some of the discussions you guys have had with them?
Absolutely. So one of our biggest supporters right now is the ADA, American Dental Association. They want this. They want it to happen because they know it has to happen. They know it has to happen. So the CBEC College is working very, very closely with the ADA on that. The ADA will be at our conference this year. What exactly they're going to be speaking on, I have to believe it's probably the future of regulations and where that's going to go. So currently, again, it's not regulated. Everybody knows that it needs to be regulated, but they don't know what those regulations, we'll call it, should be, which is where biomeds and why I want more biomeds in this career field. So when these decisions have to be made, we can say, well, in the medical world, this device code gets checked every 6 months or whatever it is, every year, whatever the case may be. And these are the, call it, generic criteria for checking out, whatever it is, an exam light, a patient chair, a nitrous oxide system. What are the key points that we have to check on that piece of equipment?
Ideally, could you foresee the ADA overseeing this process to where they're doing something along the lines of other CMS bodies like your Joint Commission, your DMV? If doctors want to actually, hey, I'm doing this the right way, it's being done correctly, I got the ADA accreditation. I assume probably why they want to push this a little bit, because
that's exactly what it is. And I don't know how deep I'm allowed to get into that just yet. But yes, that accreditation is being worked. Absolutely, that's being worked. And like you said,
huge deal, because then you start into the realm of Medicare, Medicaid, all this.
Yes, sir. So, just like HHC, JACO, like you said, where, hey, these are, if you want to be an accredited dentist, here's the requirements to be an accredited dentist. Part of that, as you know, environmental care, equipment management plan. What is your equipment management plan? Let's talk about that. These doctors they're not going to know, plain and simple. Who can they fall on? Biomeds. So, when we start talking about things like this, again, why I get giddy, because there's so many avenues that I don't necessarily think about till, like you just brought up, the accreditation thing. Yeah, absolutely. That's coming. It's absolutely coming.
Well, it's a shift in the insurance nature of the United States as well.
Yes, sir.
Well, there's a lot behind this. The service initiative is going to drive everything, but when you start getting into that, I don't want to get too much into the weeds with regulatory compliance and accreditation, because it gets
hours.
Yeah, it gets a little sleepy after I read through a little bit of it.
Yeah, right. And a lot of these guys too, we'll call them a lot of the dental guys who have been around for a while. They're servicing, we'll call it, oral surgeons. Well, oral surgeons, they have physiological monitors. A lot of them have anesthesia units. So that, these guys get hit up quite frequently. Hey, while you're here, can you take a look at my, we'll call it, physiological monitor? A lot of the, we'll call it, core dental guys don't have the skill set for that. So again, making the connection with the local biomed they can say, hey, when I have a physiological monitor, when I have an anesthesia card, can you do the calibration on it, annual maintenance on it? making that connection, getting these guys connected, and just cross-sharing knowledge.
See, there's even a more exciting aspect to this, just because I'm in the purview a lot of paying attention to what our workforce is going to look like 5-10 years from now.
Yeah.
Years from now, we talk about all the time at nauseum. Not going to get into the numbers, but a lot of people are going to be retired.
Yes, sir.
And luckily we do have some new fresh faces getting into the field. It's great, but we still need to be cognizant of the fact that we have to have certain amounts of man and woman power out there in the field. So when I think about the opportunity of expanding another skill set, adding another avenue of medical devices that somebody is capable to be trained service on and provide a service for, a biomed company out there, maybe even do their own 1099. It is an avenue that allows us to bring more people into the field that maybe they might just have an interest. Maybe they've had an interest in being a dental tech, but they want to do something technical. We could use this as an opportunity to bring people into the field and start them in the biomed section of it, just doing dental. And then if they want to expand, then they can continue that curriculum. So much to unpack with that, just from adding that dental aspect to it, that can help field those numbers too.
And that's truly why I just get giddy, because like I said, when you start talking about the avenues, the potential income, even for, we'll call it a startup technician. Say you don't want to own your own company, you just want to be a technician. I was amazed how many people, and they'd be like, wait, so that's a job? Just doing dental is a job? They're like, yeah, it's a very well-paying job. So, kudos to you, Chase, and kudos to Bella the BMAT, showing kids at a young age, which is phenomenal, that, hey, this is a career path that you can choose. And in the biomed world, as you know, a lot of us specialize and go down and do, just laser or just CT or just anesthesia or whatever the case may be. Why not go just dental if that's what you choose to do? But again, it's just the underserved part of it is what just floors me. And it's kind of scary to sit back and think about what happens 10 years from now. And I decided to hang it up, and we're just not getting the people in the career field. So again, making people aware, hey, when we talk medical equipment, we're talking about a huge scope of equipment to include dental.
So I'm familiar with some dental devices. You might run in through some of the ones that people could possibly service if they were, to get into this line of work.
Right. So if a biomed can fix a medical compressor, we'll call it, just not gas, but compressed air, guess what? Those are the same compressors used in the dental world. Literally, the same companies are making those compressors. The difference is, in the medical world, after your holding tank, you have a particulate filter in the medical world. The dental world, you're not required to have that.
Really?
So the only difference between medical air and dental air is that silly particulate filter. Floors me. So most of the dental compressors now are medical grade compressors because they put that particulate filter on, because I'm sure at the end of the day, they can charge an extra $1,000 because it's medical grade. But I mean, that being said, you're at a different level of inspection. Just everything changes. So compressors all day long. In the dental world, your critical pieces of equipment is your compressor, because without that, you can't push air, can't run your instrument. Your vacuum, without that, you can't suck the up, and your sterilizer, because if you don't have sterile instruments, you can't see patients. The autoclaves in the dental world are simple, medical sterilizer. So the two worlds are not nearly as far off. Now, when you start getting into a dental delivery unit, okay, that's where you start getting, and you have to understand the concept of the air starts here and it ends here, and how does it control, and all these things. In the dental world, you only have 3 or 4 different designs when it comes to a delivery unit. So once you figure out company X, you open company Y and you go, this is the exact same unit. This works. I already knew this. Your area expertise can be a lot smaller in the dental world. I'm not at all downplaying these guys who have been doing this for, 20, 30 years. They know their business really, really well. The biggest difference truly is, as a biomed, you got to go, whatever. I got an infusion pump that's due for calibration. I can go up to the ward. I can bring it down to the shop, set it on my bench, set up my infusion pump analyzer, make sure all my flow rates are right, all my alarms are cool, do my electrical safety on it, take it back, do my paperwork, I'm done. In the dental world, you're not afforded that luxury because a lot of these doctors have just the right amount of equipment. Meaning, if a chair goes down, that's going to cost that doctor potentially $20,000 a day for that chair to be down. So in the dental world, you have to know your stuff up here. You have to really, really know it. You're not afforded the luxury of pulling out a service manual and reading it through and go, okay, got it. It's, okay, doctor says, I'm not getting water to my handpieces. What's going on? You have to know, okay, water to the handpieces, how to trace that back off the top of your head. But again, it's not complex equipment. You have to know it.
Not like you would equate it to imaging, but the turnaround time on services needs to be to that level.
Correct, sir. Absolutely.
But when you equate a CT down, the thousands of dollars that are being burnt just by not the run.
Yep.
So, and again, these doctors and these practices, they're running with just barely enough what they need to use. Basically what you're describing is what I live every day, which is field service. So we don't have the luxury of taking stuff back to a nice bench and making sure all my little screwdrivers are perfectly aligned.
Coffee.
Nice little overhead light. You got to work on it right there in the area they provide you, and sometimes in tight spaces.
Yes.
I've been in some of those dental chair rooms, and even the people that are sitting a patient down in the chair to do whatever they got to do with the teeth, they don't have a lot of room to work with to begin.
They don't. And that's why I say a lot of these offices they're designed to be extremely functional, I guess. And when it comes to the equipment, again, if that compressor goes down, now the whole office is down. Now not just one room is down, the entire office is down.
From a service aspect, that criticalness behind the servicing of it, I would imagine the rates of service are pretty higher than what your standard biomed would be.
Yes.
But it's just so advantageous for people to look at because with that comes higher charges.
So, and I'm probably jumping segments on you, so I'm going to apologize. But the reason I got into dental is I was still active duty at Patrick Air Force Base. Now it's Space Force. Anyway, Patrick Air Force Base, and my friend Nikki worked for a dentist. And she called me up and she's like, hey, Maddie, can you fix our statum? I was like, what's wrong with your statum? She goes, it's not heating up. I was like it's a
all those coffee pots.
Because the pumps are actually from coffee makers, which is hilarious. I'll come out when I'm off duty. So I went there still in uniform. As soon as I walked in, they saw the GI and they're like, oh, you must be Matt. I was like, sure am. So, okay, we'll go get Nikki. So Nikki comes out. We go in the back sterilization room. And as I'm walking through the office, almost every room, I could hear air hissing, just everywhere in the office. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, this is horrible. So we go back to the sterilizer. I take a look at it. I should remember what was actually wrong with it, but I don't because, well, I'm old. So doctor comes back there. So you think you can fix this thing? It's like, yeah, I can fix a steam sterilizer, doc. Yeah, it's no problem whatsoever. He's like, okay, great. How much is that going to cost me? And was kind of taken back because I was like, well, no, I'm just doing a favor for Nikki. I might have to have you get the parts, but I wasn't planning on charging you anything. And he says, well, that's a lot better than the $180 an hour I'm paying now. I decided to retire right then because I was at my point where I was eligible to retire. That made my decision because I was like, you said $180 an hour? He's like, yeah, that's what they charged me is $180. I was blown away. Obviously, I fixed it. He, I think, gave me a couple $100. And then I asked him, I was like, hey, doctor, how often do you have somebody come in and go through your equipment? Because only when it breaks. There's a lot of stuff I fix myself. I was like, yeah, I was noticing a lot of leaks in here. He goes, yeah, can you take care of those? I was like, absolutely.
For $175.
Because at this point, I didn't have an LLC, or I was moonlighting. Is all I was doing. I'll do it for $100 an hour. He's like, I'll give you 120. Okay, 120. I was like, wow, this is going to be a great retirement gig for me. So that's truly how I transitioned, I guess you'd say, into the dental arena. When I was with Dental Fix originally, I trained multiple biomeds, and part of our training process was helping them figure out what their hourly rate should be for their area. And we had a gentleman own a biomed company in Ohio, and I said, what's your current biomed rate? He says, 135 an hour. I was like, I'm telling you right now, in the dental world, you're probably going to get closer to 180. He's like, not in Ohio, I ain't going to get it. I was like, we'll do the research. So we did, and made some phone calls. And in his area, he was right. He was at, I think when he launched his dental business, he was at $170 an hour. After his first year, he went up to 175. Now it's been probably 6-7 years later. He's at $200 an hour.
Here comes the money.
Here we go. Money talk.
So there's money to be made out there. But again, not everybody wants to, be the business owner. Again, the cool part about the dental world is the fact you truly get to specialize, and you're working in a clean environment. Most of the time you're in air conditioning. It's a female dominated industry. So for the single guys out there, they seem to enjoy that part of it. But yeah, it's a cool gig.
Oh yeah, I met my wife and I was fixing her handpiece for her, and
See, there you go. Actually, we have several stories like that. Where
So before I always like to ask everybody like a funny story they have, but since we've encapsulated everything with like, what's coming in the dental industry, like what you guys plan and foresee going forward. Let's say I am a biomed company or a 1099, just biomed, just throwing his LLC out there, seeing what I can get into just as an individual. What would be the process, or what is the process to get into this and work alongside you guys and kind of put yourself on the map as an option out there in the dental space?
we refer to those as ERTs, equipment repair technicians. We're growing and growing. Most of the guys that are coming to us already have pretty solid skill set, but because of our relationship with 90% of the equipment manufacturers in the dental world, we can get them training. So most of these manufacturer training courses are 3 to 5 days, we'll call it. Typically, you don't pay for it. Typically, it's a free training. And at that point, depending on the vendor and our relationship with them, at that point, you can buy parts from them. So we have multiple avenues, again, working very closely with the CBEC College in San Antonio, and we're building that dental program. We're hoping to have that launched beginning of next year. So basically, that's everything you need to know about the industry program.
Let me throw something at you that I figure somebody listening or watching is going to be skeptical at. Well, why would y'all give us free training? How does it benefit you?
You're absolutely right. People do say that. How does it benefit? It doesn't benefit Uptime at all. It doesn't benefit us whatsoever, other than we know that when whatever I send Chase to Air Techniques training, when he goes to one of our customers, we know he knows that equipment. So it makes us better by making you better, is basically what it boils down to.
You're getting the best service you possibly can for your clients.
Correct.
You're solidifying relationships with the OEMs you have partnerships with, because it's letting them know that people are working on their stuff that are trained by them.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, it's solidifying that bridge gap between the client, yourself, and the OEM. So there's a lot of inherent benefit, even if there's not a dollar figure immediately associated with it.
What I really got excited about my position is the first conversation I had with Janesh Patel. And he and I were talking, and he's like, so what's your feelings of the future? Said, I was with Dental Fix in the past, and I always felt, I understand franchising, but I always kind of felt like the scenario, corporate always won. No matter what, corporate always won. where I always felt there should have been a much more symbiotic relationship where we all win. And Janisha says, okay, well, I'm going to stop you there. He goes, what I envision is a system where 1 + 1 = 3, where everybody wins. At the end of the day, the most important person is the customer, is the dentist. He's going to win because we're going to give him the absolute best technician we can give him. And we're going to give him access to our software so he can track the maintenance on it. He goes, the technician's going to win because we are going to get him trained and we are going to give him access to the parts he needs to do the job he needs.
I kind of associate you guys almost like a medical Angie's List.
Correct.
But you
Perfect example. Perfect example. Yes, sir. Yep. I mean, you guys are, we already do work with you on the medical side. So yeah, we're basically connecting the dots. And you know, at the end of the day, information is everything.
So I was thinking too, like, you know, usually you guys reach out like, hey, have you scheduled with the customer to take care of them? Is there any reports, whatever? I don't know if this is gonna fly or not, but I think it'd be kind of cool if like you guys provide your client, like, you know, the Domino's pizza thing where it's like your order. Have some like,
somebody had brought this up actually.
no, I just thought that would be it would be kind of funny, but at the same time cool.
I agree 100%. What we're learning is that there's the bulk of people, we'll call it, out there, they don't want us to put the GPS tracker on their vehicle.
No.
They don't want us tracking them, I guess.
Or like your parts are in the oven and
Right,
yeah.
exactly. Joey has ordered your part. It is now being shipped. Here's your UPS number. Yes.
Wow, this is exciting stuff, man. Like it's almost honestly, it's like you said, uncharted waters, but it's a new frontier. Who knows what this is going to look like 5 years from now?
Correct. It's going to be completely different. When I really wrapped my head around what Janesh had created with the Uptime platform, I'm saying just the software in itself, I was absolutely blown away. I was like, what you're talking about is so needed in the biomed world. I mean, because it's an all-inclusive, everything you need to do, there it is. Yeah. And then I realized, wait a minute, the end customer will be able to see all this data. The technician will see all this data. I was like, gosh, just amazing.
They say life's a journey, but they never take the time to pause and listen to those who travel it. Incredible stories, both heartfelt and humorous. From heart-pounding moments to those unforgettable laughs, welcome to Tell Your Tale.
So before I let you go today, I got to you got to have a funny story in you somewhere.
Yeah, I do. It's a funny, embarrassing story, we'll call it. So when I was stationed at Whiteman Air Force Base, Missouri, we had a thermal disinfector with a soap pump attached to it. The soap pump wasn't working, and I had realized that there's this relay that basically drops to energize the pump to kick on. And I thought, well, maybe the relay's not working. And I took 2 fingers and I pushed down on the metal contacts of the 220 volt washer pump. There was a technician, a surgical tech, in the room when I did this. And obviously I get hit with 220 in a wet environment. Obviously I give out a yelp like a wounded dog. The technician screams. Somebody else comes running in the room. Yeah, I was pretty embarrassed.
Well, like I mentioned in my keynote a couple weeks back, you get electrocuted once, it's kind of like christening into the field. It happens to everybody. Get electrocuted twice, maybe you need to ground yourself both physically and mentally. 3 times, all right, you're trying for it, and 4 times you're really working for workers' comp. Hopefully you haven't had too many other endeavors where you jump in 220 like that.
Well, there's always your whoops. But anyway,
And that's how he ended up in space, folks.
There you go. There you go. That's how I got the gray hair.
Sure, we'll see you back here in the future because there's going to be so much now in the dental space. Have you on along with maybe CBET folks and some of the other guys that are really kind of pushing this endeavor for ADA as well.
And that was the other thing I wanted to talk about with the education piece of it is, not only are we working on this dental certification course, but we're going to be adding, we'll call it advanced courses through that CBET college, where, one of the things we're looking at is just handpieces. Because there's a lot of guys who, that's all they want to do. They just want to do handpieces. But currently, the cheapest training that I have been able to find is over 20 grand for a 5-day course. So we want to basically get more guys into that space and make it much more affordable for them.
I'm glad we finally got you on, man. It's
yeah. I like I said, I was excited. I was honored when you asked.
You're one of the 2 people that would actually be excited. So I'm happy to fulfill that dream. For anybody that wants to learn more about Uptime or reach to you if they have specific questions, maybe about the conference, whatever, where can they get in touch with you at?
Email. It's simply mlau@uptimehealth.com. Happy to talk. Happy to share my knowledge with anybody. Happy to say, hey, come on in. The water's fine. And what I'm currently kind of building is kind of like what I do with you, Chase. A lot of times I come up with ideas on where I think we should be going. It's just, it would be nice to have called maybe a group of 10 guys where I can just, hey, let me throw this at you. Where do you see this going wrong? Or why is this good? Why is this bad? Kind of thing. So,
like I said, I'll have the information and the about the conference in the description.
Beautiful.
I plan on being there. It's going to be a great time. I'm ready to get my Colgate 101 certification.
Holy molars! Am I ever glad I take good care of my teeth?
True. You owe your life to dental hygiene.
I can brush my teeth and fix the devices at the same time. For anybody that is watching, listening, I appreciate your support as always. Help the algorithm out, like, subscribe, share the show, whichever, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, doesn't matter. Any of your support is appreciated. Help me grow the show so I can keep getting bigger and more bearded. I appreciate you being on the show today. Thank you, sir. And as always, may the beard be with you.
Bearded.
Beard be with you.
Biomed.